All right, looks like we are live. Thanks everybody for joining another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Today is the 19th of January, in year 2021. Do we have any announcements before we get into the agenda and such?
I have one. I know Jory's not here today, but last Monday we did open up the call for speaker submissions for OpenJS World. OpenJS World is June 9th. Speaker submissions are open through about mid-February. So go jump on our website. You'll find the links and submit some great talks.
Great. Is there anything else up on that website?
Oh, lots of good things.
Yeah.
On our website. Yep. Hit our blog. I mean, Rachel's rocking it with the blog. Lots of great content every week.
Great. Do you have anything to add, Rachel? Any announcements or anything?
Sure, just one quick one. We have started to gather responses for a Node.js user survey. You can find that link on the Node.js webpage. There's a banner for you to go ahead and take that. So if you're using Node.js and you've got some feedback, we would love to hear from you.
Great. Yeah, nodejs.org. Excellent. So if we are to get into the agenda, are there any sorry, before I do anything from the board or anything like that? If not, I will move on. Okay.
Yeah, we have a board meeting on Friday.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. If there's anything that people want me to bring, just let me know, but nothing currently on the agenda that I think I need to do there.
Great. Cool. So I will jump into the agenda. The first item is issue 699. This is improving diversity and inclusion at the OpenJSF at OpenJS. We had talked about maybe using a working session to try and dig into this further. I mean, of course, I encourage folks to chime in on the issue if they have anything they want to add to this issue, to get the conversation started. But I don't know how much we want to discuss here. If we just want to save the conversation for a working session, what are people's thoughts? I'm sure there are lots of ideas and thoughts and everything, but maybe we could save it for something where we can really dig into it and yeah, move it forward there.
Yeah, I think a working session would be great. We have a lot of work to do, and then make sure that Toby can be there as well, since he's helping to champion.
Yeah. All right, great.
Definitely.
Okay. So I'll circle back with Toby and see how his week looks next week.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, ideally, well, I guess not ideally, but we do have the, working sessions, and I guess, why don't we, I'll move this up, even though I closed this issue, I'm gonna move it up thing so we can just talk about it now. We could use a working session for this. The idea was that working sessions would be at the same time in the off week, in the following week for CPC meetings. I was originally going to book those and just have them in the calendar so that they were there. But based on a conversation with Jory, we decided that we shouldn't book meetings if we don't have agendas. So the thought was that, in each CPC official meeting, we could talk about if we want to use the following working session and then kind of create the meeting and put together an agenda if need be. And so I guess if I am to jump ahead a little bit, do we want to try and use next week's meeting time, 1700 UTC? We could pencil it in and see if Toby and Sarah are available at that time, I guess. All right, let's do that. And then if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, I'm open to other ideas for that time slot as well. There's lots of things that we could move forward on, make progress on. So so let's just do that. We'll pencil in this issue and diversity and inclusion, and if not, then we'll figure something else out. So cool. All right. Great. So that's the first agenda item. I kind of touched on the second one. I think I've already closed this issue, number 680. I just commented on the details there. The calendar is updated for the biweekly cadence. The standards team meeting is not moved. It will conflict with a working session once every 4 weeks, but we decided that was, if that becomes a problem, we'll figure it out later. Not a big deal. Cool. So those are the first two items. The next item on the agenda is issue 687. This is prepare to open nominations for the second board seat. I think we're going to start kind of, surfacing this and socializing it. My comment from 2 weeks ago was that the new term starts on the first day of March. We should have the vote, open the vote on February 2nd and close it on the 9th. Of course, eligible candidates are current CPC members, and the people who vote are CPC voting members. And it looks like here we have, Michael, we want to open an issue in the repo that you had volunteered for. And then Jory would send an email to the CPC list. And then we'll just kind of touch on it in each of the CPC meetings.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to do that. Obviously, I'll do that.
Cool. Cool. That's great. Then we'll get that ball rolling. Maybe, maybe once you open that up, you could ping it in the CPC Slack channel or something, and we can
makes sense.
Keep it hot.
I also just real quick just want to add, it's probably been obvious by my inability to be at meetings a lot that my availability is dropping immensely because of work. So I don't intend on running again. If anyone was like hesitating because they were like, oh, I don't want to unseat somebody that's already there or something like that. So please, if you're interested, I'm happy to chat with you. But I just don't think I can give the appropriate amount of time. So I don't want to keep filling that spot if I can't do it right.
Yeah, thanks for speaking up about that. And of course, appreciate the time that you have been able to put in. So thank you for all the work you've done.
Sure.
Definitely appreciate it. Cool. All right, so we'll move that process forward. And the list of eligible nominees is only the CPC members, so we don't have a vast pool, so we can just let everybody know and kind of move forward there. Great. If anybody can help with notes too, I haven't been able to do anything. Not that there's that much that's been happening here, but a little bit of notes is great. So thank you. Next on the agenda here, and I'm happy to see Brian is on the call, is the Google Summer of Code 2021. Do you want to chime in here, Brian?
Yeah, so the dates have been announced. It's not open yet, but as with last year, it would be nice to submit an application again to be able to have some students come on. The recommendation I have on this one is if you are planning to apply as a project and you have the plans to do this as a project and the infrastructure to handle supporting a mentee as a project, then definitely go ahead and do that. The goal of the foundation doing this is not to stand in the way of that at all or anything like that. But if you're a small project and are looking to maybe have a little bit of help with this process, and we're certainly happy to help. As I recall, in the past, foundations are allocated a few extra slots, or umbrella projects are allocated a few extra slots. So there's that possible consideration as well. The main thing I would just encourage everybody to keep in mind is that if we are doing this, applying as a foundation, then it's a shared slot, and if we have more projects that are interested in having students than we have slots available, then we'll just have to figure out among us how to allocate those, whether it's a coin toss or something else. In the past, we have run it right up to the deadline in terms of putting in the submission or the application. I would like to avoid doing that this time. As I recall, I think the deadline is February 19th. Let's maybe try and get our application in sometime in the first 2 weeks of February, so we have a little bit of buffer time just in case. That sound good?
Yeah, I wonder, we should maybe surface this into the Slack, maybe the general channel or something, and maybe send an email out to projects and such, and encourage them and give them some guidance and such.
Okay. I can take care of that.
Great. Excellent. All right, cool. Thanks. Keep us posted. Let me know how I can help and all that stuff. Cool. Moving along then. The next item on the agenda is pull request 650. This is something Toby opened up a while ago and was in draft state for a long time. I think that as we move forward on some of these details, Toby changed it from draft to open pull request last week. Does anyone have any comments on this or anything they want to discuss? Toby's not here, so I won't speak for him, but I see like Emily's responded and Michael. Any thoughts, folks? I'm kind of just reading here. All right, well, I know we've talked about this a bunch. So, maybe just folks take a look at this pull request, add any additional comments if you have any, and then we can try to move this forward. I know some of the other supporting work has been done as well in terms of growth plan templates and like moving some things over to project status and such. So yeah, check it out, please. Moving on, the next item is issue 632. This is provide implementation guidance for DCO CLA.
Yeah. I have an update this week.
Great.
So over the weekend, I submitted a fairly massive pull request against Probot DCO to add the support that we'd be talking about here on the DCO implementation guidance. If you remember, this is the remediation commit support, which basically makes it easier if somebody has, if a project is using the DCO and their sign-off hasn't been accepted on a particular commit. It's an alternate way to fix the issue, hopefully making it easier so we don't have people abandon pull requests that have failed the DCO check. This is kind of an integral part to this guidance of actually implementing DCO versus CLA because it does address really one of the key pain points that we've heard from the projects. I had talked with Bex briefly over the weekend. Bex is the Probot DCO maintainer, and they're going to have a look at it here in the next week or so. So hopefully, once this is in place, we'll have some really kind of cohesive and comprehensive guidance as well. And that's the third pillar of the guidance. So first pillar was what exactly are these two things, and how should a project think about it? The second pillar is the actual CLA support, which we've got in place. And then the third one is this guidance on using Probot DCO and implementing the tooling for projects. So that's it.
Great. Thank you for all that. I really appreciate it, Brian. Cool. So we will wait for that to land and all those things to move forward, and otherwise keep this issue open. Do you want to, where did I find that? Maybe drop a comment in issue 632, Brian, when you have a moment, just so that the issue is updated with the progress?
I can do that.
Thank you so much. And there are some notes in the meeting notes if that's if you want to just copy and paste or however you want to do it. Cool. Moving on. The last item on the agenda is a pull request in the project status repository. And this is one that I had opened. And I think that there were a couple of checkboxes in the description here that I believe Toby has completed. But I will check with him and check what the status of these things before we land this. Before we land this particular PR. So if anybody wants to take a look at it, add any comments, that's just adding the growth plan template to the project status repository. Cool. That's all that is on the agenda. We've talked about what we might do for next week. We've got a few minutes carved out at the end of this meeting for some private session, but is there anything that we want to discuss in the bit of time that we have available? You know, maybe 20 minutes. We could also just jump into the private session. You know, one thought I had is just the sort of process of the working sessions. I wondered about like using any labels. If somebody wanted to say, hey, this would be a good candidate for a working session or something, we could maybe use some GitHub labels. I guess, but I guess we'll just figure it out as we go. I think that's fine. Yeah, so if we don't have any other business, we can just jump into a private session. So speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least for a couple of weeks. No? All right, great. Well, you know, let me actually look. I feel like there was something in the issues that I wanted to at least raise awareness of. Let me see, hang on. One thing that I think people could think about and comments on this issue if they would like. This is issue 700 in the CPC repo. Self-help channels for projects in Slack. This is something that we talked about in the Node.js community committee. And I think it would be interesting for us to think about and maybe have some plan for how to best use Slack channels in our OpenJS Slack org. The Node.js group has built out a bunch of channels for their like teams and working groups and initiatives. We prefixed them all with Node.js dash. And I think that that's been good. What this conversation was born out of is there is a Node.js channel and people are dropping in there and asking questions, which I think is great in terms of, you know, people being engaged and wanting to, you know, be a part of the Slack. But it's been unclear as to, is that what that channel is, you know, best used for, and should we kind of develop some sort of a plan for, you know, project related Slack channels and perhaps like a help channel of sorts. So we don't have to necessarily make any decisions here, but I'll just add that, like, you know, one of the things that Michael and I had commented on is that IBM, which of course is a big company, you know, we have a Node.js at IBM channel, and there are lots of good, you know, engagement there, including questions. Obviously, there are a lot of people. It's sort of like a self-community help sort of place where people ask questions and other users comment, and that's great. There isn't like any expectation of, you know, Node contributors to be answering the questions per se. And I don't know if we have that, you know, amount of Node developers there yet to really kind of support that. And then also, you know, there is the Node Slackers Slack org that is sort of, you know, informal, unofficial, but a lot of people are there as well. So anyway, something to think about, you know, whether we have project related, Electron Ask Me Anything or Electron Help or Fastify or Express or what have you. So something I guess to think about. There's an issue that's open there, and we can talk about it there, or in Slack, or in a meeting, or what have you. But I thought I'd plant that seed for people to think about.
Yeah, especially like, is it going to be useful to have the context or like the purpose of the channels well defined? Because I think the one that's there for Node, we didn't necessarily think it was a place for people to ask for help. But in absence of sort of having documented and having channels, it's just will be used for whatever, right? So if we make one like, yeah, this is for like discussion among team member, core developers, or is this one for help, or having multiple would help to get people to the right place.
Yeah.
And then a pattern might help to make it easier for projects to say, okay, yeah, you're a project, you've joined the OpenJS Foundation. One of the things you can get is, here's a template we use for our Slack channel. So you can get like a help one if you want one, you can get like a core contributor one, you can get whatever makes sense. But having some structure would probably help new projects too.
Yeah. Agreed. And there might be some things too that we can take from like, the IBM internal one. Other folks might have internal Slack channels as well, similar, but we might want to do some more integrations there too. Like, when there's a new release that comes out, it pops up in our Slack channel. A variety of things could be implemented there. So stuff to talk about, think about, whatever. But I think it would be good to kind of flesh some of that stuff out. All right, cool. I will not take up any more of y'all's time. We will drop into a private session for a few and then call it a wrap. So anyone who's watching, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone who's not a member, which I don't see anyone here. So yeah, we'll call it a wrap.